Good morning, guys. It is Wednesday, January 24th, 2024. This is Bathrobe Business. I got my coffee and I got the news. So there are days where I have nothing to report, and then there's days like today where I have tons of stories to report. So I'm going to hit them rapid fire, and we'll start with the tech sector. So eBay is the big story of the day. They are cutting about 1,000 jobs, or 9% of their domestic workforce. But it's actually more than that, because they're also going to be cutting their 1099 contracts as well. One of the primary reasons is a slight slump in sales, but this little cut has raised their stock price by about 3%, as we've seen a lot of tech companies do, right? If sales are slumping, they do a little bit of a job cut, it raises their stock valuation, and they're doing just fine. And one of the primary reasons of this cut is also additional pressure from Chinese retailers. So we're talking our Temus, we're talking Wish, we're talking TikTok. A lot of these Chinese companies that have been kind of ignored for a while are starting to put pressure on the domestic market. The next story is almost the alternative. So Netflix posts a major jump. Netflix posts a subscriber jump of almost 13 million. Now, this is due to two factors. The first is password sharing. So a lot of these 13 million subscribers were already subscribers, but just sharing passwords. Not that I would ever do such a thing, but I've heard that people do. However, the second end of it is actually their ad revenue package, so the one where you can watch Netflix with ads. I don't have this service, so I don't know much about it, but obviously they launched this last year and it is growing. And yesterday, if you'll remember, we talked about how they're going to be streaming WWE Raw in their ad-based package as well. So they're also planning to be raising prices again this year. So Netflix is actually looking very positive from that standpoint. They've got a lot going for them in subscribers, additional revenue, and new packages that they're pretty much adding. And just a minor note, this is a deviation from the tech sector, but Chipotle is hiring 19,000 people this coming spring for their busy season as an alternative to eBay, who's cutting. Not that those positions are equivalent, but just thought I would mention it. And what I thought was interesting is they are offering financial perks. Speaking of financial perks, so I want to talk about Klarna. So I don't know much about buy now, pay later. I have mentioned these apps on this channel before, and I think they're an interesting product because I think they are entirely geared to a market that is based on high interest. So from what I know about buy now, pay later is a lot of times these are, we look at them as layaway apps, but they really are fintech companies. And Klarna, the more I read up on it, the more I realize is directly a fintech company, and I think a very interesting one. So essentially, you go to an online store, you use Klarna, and it breaks up your payments into 4 or potentially 30 days. Or additionally, if you need longer, if you need full credit card services, they can be your finance company rather than your Visa, your MasterCard, your Amex. And this is a pretty powerful move because a lot of times their internal retailers are offering discounts. So they're essentially running a store within their fintech company. So you can get deals on those and then finance that into 4 payments, 30 days, or a percentage. Now the percentage can get expensive. It's anywhere from 8% to 33%. However, oftentimes that lower percentage rate of 8%, 9%, 10% is still less than most people with good credit are getting with their credit card companies. In addition, a source of revenue for Klarna is transaction fees. So if you do go outside their store or their preferred sellers, they charge you a transaction fee even if it's at 0 interest. This is an interesting concept because they're still making money off of those small little transaction fees, charging you no interest, and you're getting the benefit of being able to buy this product, breaking up the payments, not having to pay credit card fees or interest rates. And the interesting thing about Klarna is they're now offering an alternative revenue stream with a $7.99 monthly plan. Now, this plan I'm a little vague on exactly what it includes. From what I understand, it's additional in-company perks, so like in-app perks of rewards points, 0 transaction fees when you go outside of their preferred sellers, etc. So I'm a little vague on what exactly the $7.99 revenue stream offers, but it is an additional revenue stream for the company that is planning to IPO. I think this is a very interesting product and a very modern product for a modern problem, not to quote Dave Chappelle. But it's a very interesting product that I think most people are misinterpreting. I think people look at buy now, pay later and think, oh my God, American debt is going up. Look how horrible things are. Actually, quite the opposite. I think this is much safer and much better than credit card debt, which really can be damaging with compounding interest, hidden fees, reward point fees, etc. This is a modern day product, and what's interesting is it's all app based, right? You don't need a card, you don't even need a bank account potentially. You can run everything from within the app, and then they're going to be launching a high yield savings account this year as well. So Klarna is really looking to be a fintech company. They're looking to be more of a modern bank than they are just a layaway program. I think it's a very interesting product. I think this is the kind of product we need in a high interest society because, again, I like high interest rates. I think high interest rates make the economy stronger, but this helps consumers because it lets them avoid traditional credit card companies and traditional credit card interest and fees. Last story I'm going to report on, actually, no, I'm going to report on two more stories, but the big story I'm going to report on is what's going on with Spotify in Europe. So in Spotify in Europe, they passed the Digital Marketers Act. The Digital Markets Act. I apologize. So this is a major move for Europe that I wish we would replicate here in the United States. So Spotify can now begin to do in-app purchases outside of the Apple App Store. And this is taking effect this year. It's a major law that they have lobbied for years. Now, a lot of times in Europe, Spotify will allow you to get subscriptions outside of the App Store, but they were not allowed to do additional purchases like audiobooks, direct song purchases, etc., whereas now they can. And this is a law we definitely need to replicate here in the United States. Remember, Apple makes $85 billion just being the gatekeeper to third-party developers. And it's a very damaging model to those that are just starting out and to those smaller apps and smaller companies that have very, very tight revenue streams. And this is a gatekeeping measure that has just hurt the economy and just reduced competition. I think if you allow for direct sale of apps, there is a security question to be addressed. However, it's a minor question that can easily be maneuvered as long as companies still register with Apple. They can still be Apple verified. However, their sales can go to them and not be gatekeeped by Apple. Remember, Apple made $85 billion in sales in 2023 from doing nothing, just from gatekeeping. Last story I'm going to talk about is, two more stories. I keep saying last story, but I got more and more stories. Again, it's a busy day. I'm going to mention this one quickly because it's not a U.S.-based story, but it is one we've talked about. President Milei in Argentina, as we know, has been trying to do major cuts to the economy. Remember, in 2023, Argentina had an annual inflation of 211%. That is insane. I cannot even fathom that. And in addition, 2 in 5 citizens are now living in poverty. Now, Milei, I don't know what to think of him, but he is coming in as a powerful libertarian candidate who is planning major cuts to the government sectors, restructuring the economy, breaking up the central bank, dollarizing the economy, etc. Now, we all know he's not going to be able to do all of this, but what is interesting is there's a major government strike coming in the next few days. This is going to be one of the largest labor strikes in the country. This is going to determine really how much power he has, because remember, the ruling party in parliament, or I believe it's their parliament, is still the previous party of the previous president. So his power is very much curtailed. This strike is really going to be a test of his administration to see how is he going to handle this strike. He is claiming that he's going to be docking employees' pay, and we'll see if that actually comes to fruition. But is he going to cave to their demands, and what impact is this going to have on the economy? Last story I'm going to talk about is the mortgage structure in the United States. Not the mortgage structure, I'm sorry, home buying. So home buyers' demand pushed higher in the last couple of weeks. Interest rates are up to 6.78%. They were at 6.75, so you've got a small marginal increase. But mortgage applications have risen about 8% over the last week. So despite the fact that we're in a high interest environment, mortgages are still going through, refis are still going through. Month after month, I keep showing that housing is a very strong sector. Really, if we look at the economy as a whole, there's open job positions, there's growth. The only place that really has a slump is the tech sector. And again, I think the tech sector is slumping because it's just realigning with what it's supposed to be in the greater job market. For years, Silicon Valley operated under its own rules, and those rules are ending. People are becoming more savvy to tech. They don't need Silicon Valley products per se. Interest rates are going higher, and because of that, Silicon Valley is having to become more competitive. And I think that's realignment is actually doing really good. It's still not hurting unemployment, Remember, unemployment is at a 53-year low. This is, as we've discussed previously, a demographic issue. There's just more people retiring than coming into the market. And yeah, I think overall the economy is doing good. This is why I don't think interest rates should be cut, and I don't think they will be cut, because I think the economy is actually fundamentally much stronger than people give it credit for. Every time I open YouTube, it's always some analyst saying the recession is coming, except the only problem is they've been saying that for like 4 years. They're just doing that for clicks. If you look at the fundamentals of the economy, everything is actually very strong. And if you start cutting interest rates in this economy, you're going to see inflation rise again. So I don't think interest rates are coming, as I've discussed in the past. I think a lot of this is going to be permanent. I think we're going to be strapped in for higher interest rates for the next decade. I'm not saying they're going to stay where they are at the 5.5%, but I think they're very much going to stay at the higher levels that they have been, plus or minus an interest point here or there. That's pretty much it. I ran a little long. I got to get to work. I will see you guys tomorrow. I hope you have a productive day, and I'll see you in the morning.